So the person you're about to watch has been inside ScaleWise Partnerships for just under a year. Before that, he was a corporate accountant spending 5 years going down the finance route. He wasn't someone who grew up in the online space or had a bunch of skills in marketing, sales, or copywriting. He was just a guy who knew he didn't want to spend the rest of his life going down the corporate route and decided to do something about it. And here's the honest truth about his story that I really respect. Before he got into the agency and info space, he spent an entire 6 months without making a single dollar. 6 months of sending DMs every single day, getting on sales calls, and getting 0 results. That is until he found us, of course. And to be honest, I think that part of the story matters a lot because there's so many people in the online space nowadays and all they want to do is only share their wins. The launches that hit, the clients that scaled, hitting 100K in 30 days, whatever it might be. But the reality for most people in this space is getting into business is hard. Otherwise, everyone would do it, right? And the hardest part of 6 months and not making anything and burning through your savings account is actually the mental aspect because it gets harder and harder to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And Ryan was honest about that, which is exactly why I wanted to record a video with him. And what changed for him was actually just getting the right structure, the right systems, and honestly just getting a client to work with from day one rather than just studying the theoretical systems. Fast forward to now and he's scaling up 4 to 5 different creators and running up their info businesses. His best month with a single creator was $100,000 in cash collected. And every single month now, he's consistently making 40 to 50K in personal profit with his agency. So I sat down with him and let him tell the entire story. Where he started, where things broke down, and the turning point where he was able to get a ton of momentum and start to hit massive months with his info product agency. No script, just a conversation. So let's get into it. Well, I'm super excited to dive into this interview here with my boy Ryan Colaz. He joined ScaleWise Partners back in August actually, so it's almost been a full year and he's been getting some absolutely insane results. And so I think it's time for us to kind of dive in deep and see how you kind of got to this point. So if you want to just start us off and just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what do you do?
For sure. What up, Loic? Appreciate you having me on. I'm Ryan. I was an accountant for about 5 years. Got a degree in accounting, master's in business at corporate. Decided it wasn't for me. Loic kind of showed me the ropes on this business model, so I worked with him a little bit at the start. That got me out of accounting. Quit my job, went full-time on this, and I've been doing it for the past year or so.
You pretty much were looking to get into online business just about like a year ago then?
Yeah, I did e-com for a few years before while I was working, but like nothing crazy, didn't take it too seriously. Ran up a couple stores, but decided it wasn't for me and wanted to find just a new online model.
So kind of before then did you pretty much go straight from like your degree straight into like the online business world, or did you also get like kind of like a job and do like online business on the side, or like what did that kind of like first look like right at the start?
Yeah, so I was doing it on the side while I was in school and working, just trying to run up some.
Okay, cool. Yep. What exactly did work look like?
So I was an accountant. I did audit, accounting, finance, that kind of thing. Just basically corporate.
And about how long were you doing that until you kind of decided like you needed like a way out?
So I started working while getting my master's like 22, and then by like 2025 quit my job and went all in on like marketing in the agency. I was corporate for 3 or 4 years and then had internships before that.
And then at that point, you sound like you decided like went the drop shipping route. How long were you doing that? And like what was kind of like your general experience with that?
I mean, it was my first look into online business. I heard about SMMA agency, whatever, but I figured like, how am I going to run someone else's ads if I've never done it? Which is like a super bad limiting belief, but I figured that's like how it worked. So I started that, I don't know, sophomore year of college, ran up a couple stores. When I was working after college, I ran up a store to like 100K a month, but spent 90K in expenses. So I took home less than 10K and I was like, all right, yeah, these margins are brutal, not for me. So that's when I quit and looked into marketing, copywriting, info.
Why? Obviously there's like tons and tons of business models out there. Kind of got your taste of like marketing, copywriting, building some funnels. It sounds like I'm sure some landing pages, things of that nature. Why did you feel like growth operating was the route that you really wanted to head in rather than like maybe like day trading or like maybe getting into like real estate, wholesaling, agency? Like obviously there's so many ways to make money online these days. Like why was growth operating like really so attractive to you?
I think just the idea of marketing and running a marketing agency in itself is like super, it seemed beginner friendly. After having been in it for about a year, it's not super beginner friendly, but that's the way it seemed getting into it. So that's kind of why I chose that.
Yeah, I'll definitely want to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that a little bit later probably, but maybe you can kind of like tell us where you're at now, a year in. Because I mean, I guess one thing is everyone makes it seem like a beginner friendly business model, right? Growth operating. At the end of the day, you handle so much for these creators, but I think it's important at the same time to have that blind faith, right? So it's like kind of like a balance of both, just kind of realizing what you're getting yourself into, but also knowing that it's possible. But we'll obviously dive into that. What does kind of like your agency look like now? If you want to give us just like a really zoomed out overview of like your current client stack and how the business is going.
So where is my business at nowadays? I kind of run all of my clients, all of my businesses. I have two businesses, basically two agencies. We run it with my partner. We have about 4 or 5 info clients, and me and him are doing anywhere between 30 to 40 per month each with those. And then with the AI agency, we're at about 10, 15K each with.
Sick. And so if you want to just kind of quickly run us through like the clients that you have, how many followers they have, the rev share on each of those, and then the niche if you feel comfortable sharing the niche.
Yeah, I probably won't say their name.
No, yeah, you don't have to say their name.
Yeah, so where my clients are at. So we have 4 main ones, and then we do some like build and release webinar one-off projects for a couple other clients. But the 4 main ones, we have a car salesman. He's got about 20K on Instagram. We are 20% with him. We have a YouTube creator who has a like done with YouTube coaching offer. He's got like 250K subscribers on YouTube. We're on 50% with him. We have a trading client who started at like 5K followers. We got her up to 15. We're doing 35% with her. That's who we scaled up to 100K. And then we have an ADHD client who doesn't really have social media. We run like a LinkedIn funnel for him. He sells like ADHD like coaching and like biochemistry packages to other CEOs. So it's a little different. We're on 30% with him.
That's epic.
Yeah, it's a solid stack.
It's super solid. Would you say like revenue is, I mean, I'm sure it's not, but like, is it like kind of evenly distributed? Are all clients making you money? Is one making you like a lot more than another? And how would you say like your focus distributed across your clients at that kind of scale?
Yeah, so I mean, how our time's kind of distributed across the clients is my partner handles a lot of the sales and sales management. I handle a lot of like the marketing operations systems. I think our trading client kind of takes a lot of our energy, a lot of both of our energy, and makes us the most. But other than that, it's pretty even. We're making solid money from all of them.
Sick. Hell yeah. We will kind of kick off into the next section. So take me back to before ScaleWise Partnerships and working with me and Archie. What was your life and work actually like day to day?
Yeah, so before ScaleWise, after I quit my job, went all in on info marketing. I was watching YouTube videos, watching Ben Bader, Cardinal Mason, those guys, just figuring out the info agency model. I was lobbing up 200, 300 awful DMs every day, not really seeing any traction for the first 2 or 3 months, couple sales calls, but like just really couldn't sign any clients.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, what was like kind of like your income at that point? And how were you feeling in terms of like where you were headed at that kind of point?
Yeah, so my first 6 months in agency, I didn't make $1. So I was just going off of my accounting savings, which was fine, but yeah, didn't see anything until like 6 months in.
How did you kind of feel about like where you were headed in life? I know when like I can definitely relate. The first 6 months in my agency, I didn't make a single dollar, and obviously you're kind of just like, for me, I had a lot of doubt, right? You're just kind of like, you haven't had that success, you haven't had that win yet. So how did you feel kind of like when you were at that stage?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't feeling like too discouraged. I knew eventually like this would work or another model would work or something would work. So like as long as you put in the inputs, you show up every day, like something's gonna happen. Is you just got to stay in the game long enough and things start to work. So yeah, I wasn't too discouraged going through that.
That makes a lot of sense. And I feel like that's probably kind of comes down to like the skills that you did have, right? So what did you kind of know how to do already? And what would you say is the part that you couldn't quite crack on your own when you're really at that stage of trying to get a client and obviously scale them?
Yeah, so I've seen the online business game for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years before that point with e-com. So I knew how to create websites and run a payment processor and book calls, do business with people. So I feel like a lot of those skills kind of transferred right away. But yeah, I think just client acquisition was the hardest part to crack.
That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, when you found ScaleWise Partnerships, what made you decide to bet on it over everything else that was out there?
When I found ScaleWise, I saw your video on YouTube about info. Before then, I was just bouncing between like different marketing angles, business models. So copywriting, running ads, SMMA, that kind of thing. Also info, but I saw yours and you seemed super dialed in. You knew what you were talking about. You're good on camera. Watched it. I think I applied your coaching because, I applied to ScaleWise because your offer was a no-brainer. And I don't know if you're still running it, but at the time it was, you're going to find a creator and scale them up with me, which is exactly what I was looking for. I had never run up a creator before. So having someone who is already making 30, 40K per month, established in the space, find the creator, run him up with me, give me his systems, it was perfect for where I was at.
And I know that before you joined, you actually had already invested in another person's info product when it comes to growth operating. So you already, we're in a community of people. You were already actively learning. What made you feel like you needed a little bit more that maybe like others in the space weren't quite able to provide?
Yeah, so I was in another like marketing group before. Tons of value in there. Love all those guys. Still friends with a lot of them. But it was like kind of geared towards intermediate to advanced people, like not really beginners with no clients. So just like getting my first client, getting experience, that was the toughest part.
I see a lot of people online position growth operating as like some beginner friendly model, right? So what would you say was like your experience with that, getting into things like not knowing what you're doing? And then how did Archie and I really help you kind of like get past like first and second gear?
Yeah, so I mean, growth op, it's definitely not a beginner model. I feel like with my current clients, I'm like their CEO. We do everything. We do sales management, operations, systems, marketing, all of it. So it's definitely not beginner friendly. What you guys did when I first started working with you guys is not only did you acquire the client for me, but you laid down all the systems from launch to scaling, which I don't know, it made it a lot easier because I had never seen that. Like I had never been in the operations with clients before. So just having all your systems and SOPs to go from launch to scaling helped out a lot.
In terms of like obviously just like even getting that first client, how much easier did it make it being able to like obviously leverage our like, our case studies? Obviously we took care of like the entire sales calls, the sales process for you so that you could actually just focus on implementing. Like maybe if you want to kind of dive into that and explain your experience working with us, kind of like we didn't even have an onboarding call. We just like the first call was like the call with the client that we just handed over to you. So maybe you want to just kind of like break that down, tell the story with that and how you kind of just like were able to just like skip steps and like build that confidence to actually like implementing your knowledge and getting like experience right away.
For sure. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like you guys move quick. Like my first onboarding call with you was with the creator that we're going to scale up together. I don't know if you want to name drop him or whatever, but yeah, that was my first onboarding call where we kind of got him onboarded onto our systems. And then from there, yeah, you, me, and Archie kind of figured out how we're going to launch him, how we're going to get the infrastructure in place to start scaling up his offer.
100%, which was sick. We were pretty stoked about it. It was in the creator with about like 10K followers and they were in the high ticket sales niche, which obviously is a great niche. So yeah, we were stoked to kind of like help you with that right off the bat.
Yeah, it was an insane offer to like hop on for my first one. Learned a lot. It was just your standard biz op offer. So yeah, couldn't have been a better one to learn from.
100%. If you want to kind of like walk us through like, for that client, like what did you build and what were like the biggest takeaways from like working with that first client that maybe kind of like obviously like really opened your eyes to like actually like, because you could learn about growth operating all day long, but like actually doing it for a client is like completely different. Obviously, what would you say is that experience like, and like what did you really learn from that experience?
Yeah, working with him, I learned like there's so much that goes into like the actual business of a info program. info offer. First off, we started by just auditing what he was currently doing. Like he was selling a couple one-off, one-on-one consultations and Zoom calls. So we audited like his current process, his current business basically, and started implementing our system. So we got like voice memos from him, which I remember were huge and kind of new to the space at the time, but we got voice memos from him, exactly what his offer is, his experience, what he's currently doing, how he helps his students, why he's qualified, that kind of thing. And then we just started building assets to implement from there. So I think off rip, we started with an application funnel, like a waitlist funnel, and a 2-week Whisper Teas launch. And I think we did 15K that first month off of just that launch. Then we put in the application funnel, the VSL funnel, put in the setter, managed him, and just started tying everything together.
100%. About how far, so you did about 15K in that first month. How far were you ultimately able to scale that client, just like right off the bat?
We got him to a consistent 30K per month for a few months, and then he decided that he wanted to kind of run the business on his own, so we parted ways with him.
Sick. I mean, obviously, overall, it's definitely a huge win. Able to make money, really just validate the business model, learn the skills more importantly, and then now you have that like...
By that point, we had already signed a couple other clients that we were working with, so it wasn't a huge deal.
Sick.
He actually called me the other week, and he wants me to run his ads.
He called you recently?
Yeah.
That's
Have you
sick.
talked to him much?
I haven't been, no. I haven't. Bro, yeah, he's all over the place.
He's a funny dude. But yeah, he hit me up to run his ads, so we'll see.
I've seen him running ads. Are those
I don't know if they're hitting the way he wants them to hit.
Yeah, makes sense.
He needs to bring in the big guns.
Exactly. And then
learned so much from working on that first offer. And then I could use that experience and those results just to outreach and sign more clients. So it was huge.
Yeah, I think that's honestly like the most important part is actually getting like a real testimonial, a real case study that you like actually earned, and then you can actually talk about with conviction, and actually like, you know, at that point that you can replicate and do it for anyone, right? Because I think that's the hardest part for any beginner. It's just not having that case study.
Calls before, and like they'd be like, all right, what are you going to do? And who have you done it before with? And I was like, dude, I really don't know, but I know I can scale you up, I think. So yeah, they were a disaster. But then I could go to these sales calls, say, yeah, we did this, this, and this for this client. We can do this for you. We can implement this for you. And then, yeah, it's wraps.
So let's say you were able to like close one of those clients without a case study, for example, and you were looking to, you know, obviously go in and scale their business. Like, what would you say would have happened if you'd have tried figuring it all out alone, essentially?
I know for me personally, I would have made it work eventually. And like part of my rationale with going with you guys was like, I just want to speed it up. I want to get the systems from people who have done the business model for years at this point. I wanted their systems now instead of having to go through the years of trial and error myself.
Totally. Makes a ton of sense. Yeah, because obviously you had the skill set. You had skills. It wasn't like you were just like complete beginner. You just needed like help like piecing it all together essentially, and how it actually applies to an info business. So in terms of like, would you say like working with us, would you say it was like more like the knowledge that moved you? Or would you say it was like the tools, support, SOPs, the systems? Like what would you say is like the key differences there and really just like working with us?
Yeah, I think your guys' systems are nuts. Like I still hop into that Notion and use some of the stuff in there for some of my current clients. So just having your SOPs and systems and like the way you set up different offers, having that from the jump was super valuable, but like also just like implementing them with you guys and like having that conviction that like what we're putting in actually works, that helped a lot.
Cool. So yeah, what would you say was a mistake that we stopped you from making that would have cost you a deal, a client, or just like an unsuccessful launch, system, things of that nature? If you can kind of like go back and try to kind of remember from that.
Yeah, I think a big mistake that I probably would have kept making without your guys' help is like actually putting in a proper launch for a new offer, because like it's so important that you actually put in the right infrastructure and the right marketing before a launch just to capitalize on all that like super warm engagement instead of just throwing up your link and saying, hey, apply now, whatever. So yeah, super important to put in a 2-3 week like basically event for a new launch. Other than that, dude, I think like the biggest part was like just how delayed my timeline would have been had I not gone with you guys. Got a creator from day one and started scaling him. Like who knows when I would have signed my first client, started making my first little bit of info money.
Yeah, I think it's also just like kind of like putting it all together, right? I think launches, one, people overcomplicate them, but also sometimes two, people don't even like they don't squeeze the actual juice out of the audience and really like maximize the potential of these launches. So I think that was definitely one thing that went really well when we launched right off out the gate. What would you say is one of the biggest like limiting beliefs that you were able to overcome just kind of like diving in, getting your hands dirty and working with that first client with us?
Yeah, I think just like my mindset around the whole business model, and maybe not even my mindset, but like just my attitude towards it, is like it was so hard to acquire that first client just because I didn't have the results or the experience. Like I said, I'd hop on these sales calls and I would have no idea what I'm pitching them because I had never been in the weeds in the inside of a info offer, so I just didn't really know how they worked, how I was supposed to scale this person. But yeah, so actually getting that creator day one and getting that experience and being in the weeds of the offer, it helped a lot.
Maybe if you can kind of like give us some insights on where you're at now. Obviously, you said that the agency's at 40 to 50K per month. So you're out of the trenches. If you want to just kind of paint the picture of what the business looks like today.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we are out of the trenches. It's so much better like actually scaling a business rather than like getting it up and trying to launch it and start it. So we're finally doing operations and thinking long term, that kind of thing. Daily, we meet with all of our sales teams. I think we have about 10 sales reps and setters between the 4 offers. We meet with them, game plan for the day, make sure they're hitting KPIs, make sure everything's going well with the offer, figure out how we're going to keep scaling them. Outside of that, it's basically just long-term thinking for the business. So how are we going to scale our business or scale our current clients, and how are we going to acquire new ones?
And then the big one that we all want to hear about. So I know that you told us briefly about that trading client that you just hit a record month of over 100K in a single month in June. So kind of take me through that. Where did she start? What did you actually do? And how were you able to ultimately get her to 100K per month?
Sure. Yeah. With our trading client, we signed her maybe 2 to 3, probably 3 months ago, and then got her launched 2 months ago. It was kind of a long sales process with her. Like we sent free assets and results, testimonials, and like we just had a long conversation with her in the DMs before actually signing her. She wasn't sure if she wanted a team. She wasn't sure on the business model and like selling an offer full time. But eventually we got together, we signed it, and got her launched. For the first launch, she has, well, for her offer, it's basically coaching and then a custom indicator. So like I'm not too versed in trading, but it's custom charts and signals and all that. Like you can literally only get if you are like on her trading view. Like you can't create it yourself. She has some development team on the back end making this. So she sells that, and then basically like coaching, mentorship, how to use it. So we launched that, and then basically 2 months later we're at 100K. We started at 20 in the first like 2 or 3 weeks, and then started implementing webinars, and in June we did 100K.
Month 1 sounds like building systems. Month 2 launched to 20K, and then by month 3 at 100K. What would you say is the biggest levers you pulled to jump from 20 to 100K in 30 days?
Yeah, adding webinars and doing paid traffic. So we only spent like $8,500 on ads this month. So between that and organic was the 100K we did. But adding paid and adding webinars is definitely what scaled us to 100K. And to get to the next 100K, because we want to go to multi 6 figures, 300-400K per month with this offer, we really need to dial in the sales team, dial in the sales process, get a few more closers and setters, dialing up all of these 3,000 to 4,000 leads that we're getting every month from the webinars.
Sick. And so it's just a webinar, no DM to book a call or no VSL funnel?
Webinars and then an application funnel. We don't have a VSL yet, but it's straight organic. So people come into her funnel through Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We don't have setters reaching out to them yet. They just apply, and we probably get 20 to 30K from just organic book calls.
Sick. So no setters even reaching out yet. So definitely tons of juice to squeeze out of that one. And then in terms of webinars, how many are you doing per month?
We did 2 in June.
Okay.
And we racked in about 30 to 40K for each one.
Sick. And so I'm assuming like one at the beginning, one like 2 weeks into the month.
Yeah. Yep. And then maybe the third week of June.
And then what does kind of like the promo look like for that? Is she just making CTAs on her stories, in her posts? Is she, are you doing like email blasts? Are you running ads obviously to that registration funnel? Like kind of want to like give some insights.
Yeah, for the webinars, we're doing it all. So I'd say most of our lead flow comes from cold traffic, but we still do a lot of organic campaigns. So story sequences pretty much every day. She's CTAing to it in her TikToks, Instagrams, link the registration page in her YouTube. But yeah, like 95% comes from cold traffic.
Sick. And then in terms of the targeting on that cold traffic, are you just like retargeting like her visitors and engagers, or are you just like really just like leaving it broad and just letting like Meta do its thing? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, we kind of just leave it broad and let Zuck go find our registrants. We're cooking about like $5 to $6 cost per registrants, which is super solid. If you go higher, yeah, obviously it's more expensive, but if you go lower than that, like the lead quality declines. So it's we like to say at the 5 or 6 cost per registrant for our clients. But what we do for like the actual targeting, and I don't know if you want to cut this out or what, because this is sauce, we optimize over the like $27 upsell. So when they register, we will upsell them to like a $27, I'll keep this a secret, but like a PDF or a strategy or digital product, whatever. And then we'll optimize conversions around people who, or we'll optimize targeting for the pixel around people who buy that. So we're just trying to find people who are okay with buying that $27 item, which like liquidates ad spend a little bit, but it just finds like a way higher quality lead.
So like they click on the ad, they land on a registration page for the webinar, and then they obviously register, and then they'll redirect basically to like an upsell page.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then you optimize around that conversion, and it's sauce. We had a 20% close rate for the two, which super high for a direct to checkout webinar, and I think it's because we like have high quality leads coming in.
What's the ticket price on that?
$1,000 to $2K, $1 to $2K.
Okay, so no sales calls.
So what we do is we sell a super low ticket entry package on the webinar, direct to checkout, and then they get an onboarding call with the creator, with the trader. And on that onboarding call, it's like a part 2 to the webinar. She gets them onto the system and teaches them how to use it, but she gives so much value that they're like, yo, like how can I get in more contact with you? And she like soft launches the higher ticket program, and then people apply and upsell from there. So yeah, we do like 6 to 7 ROAS on the front end, and we want to get that to like 10 or so over the next few, but 6 or 7 ROAS on the front end, and then we upsell like double that.
Fire. That's super sick. And that is some absolute sauce right there for everyone out there. So yeah, in terms of like, just like beyond the money, right? Obviously the money's amazing. And obviously this business model just gives you a ton of leverage, I would say, right? Where you just build systems and they work for you. But what would you say is actually different about your life now versus a year ago?
I kind of live my days how I want to live them. I go to the gym at noon every day. I miss the crowd. I'm not there at 5 with everyone getting off work, so I can just go in and have it to myself, which is a super big perk, but that just shows like how much freedom we have in our lives nowadays running business models like these, which I don't know, just one example, but yeah, just we get to live our days how we want to pretty much.
Just the freedom. It's like the money gives you freedom, but there's also just like...
Money's cool, but just being able to do what you want to do on a day-to-day is sick.
100%. I mean, that was kind of like my next question anyways, like what can you do now that you weren't able to do before? But it's just kind of like, because it's like you like to work, like it's really like apparent, right? Like
I work more than what I was in corporate. It's just different hours.
And you like the work.
I like it, yeah. Me and my partner joke like once every month or two we'll be like, damn, when was the last day we took a day off?
How would you say like it is like working with creators? Because I know like for me, before I started growth operating, I had a SMMA and I was working in the solar niche. So I was working with like solar sales guys, and I hated it, right? And so now I love working with creators, but like what is your experience working with like, you know, creators and info product offer owners?
Dude, it's insane. Like you get some absolute characters in this space who think they know everything. They think they're like some hotshot entrepreneurs, and like Dude, it's crazy. We had this, I don't know. I'll tell you about a story off camera, but yeah, we've had some absolute characters we work with. So nowadays we only sign clients that like we want to be friends with, basically. Like in the beginning, yeah, we'd sign with anyone, get the business launched, get some money in, get some experience. But yeah, it's like not worth the headache now to work with someone and partner with someone that like you don't like.
100%. No, I completely agree with that. So kind of like in that sense, what are the like, let's say 3 things that you look for before actually like committing and partnering with these creators? Because at the end of the day, it is a bit of a marriage, right? You talk to them every day, go back and forth on like what systems, what strategies to implement. So with all of that said, like what are the 3 things that you look for that like makes you confident in being like, hey, this guy will be a good client?
3 things I look for in signing a new client. Let's see. It's a great question. Yeah, first and foremost, I think we need to have a connection. There needs to be some chemistry there. We need to like the person and want to work with them, because yeah, you're on FaceTime with them 3, 4, 6 times a week. You're talking to them all the time. You're running a business with them. So just finding that compatibility and people you actually click with, that's super important. And then outside of that, we don't really take on newer publishing offers anymore. We're not right now, at least. We're not closed off to it, but we look for people who already kind of are in that 10 to 20K range. Like they already have the framework and the base of an offer going. They just need help scaling it. So people who already have a solid offer, solid audience. And then number 3, if we think like they have to like have a good product. So they need to be good at their craft. They need to actually get their students results, and yeah, they need to have a good offer.
No, 100%. I definitely agree with all of those. The last one I would add is like, you just need someone that's actually like hardworking at the end of the day, right? Like I feel like the harder your creator works, like I'm not worried about how hard I'm going to work. Like I want to like make money, make them successful. But if their creator's just lazy, they think it's just like some passive, like the passive thing. Like I think that's a real big driver. And so in any like sales call, I definitely recommend anyone like really tries to make sure that creator's hungry and they want it badly.
Yeah, they need to be bought in, because like it's their business. Like they own anywhere from 90 to 60% usually, depending on what your rev share is. It's their business, so they still have a lot of work they need to do. So yeah, you definitely need to find people that are bought in on their own business, bought in on the model, just ready to get after it like you are.
Exactly. With that being said, like what would you say is the sweet spot when it comes to like the size of the creator that you're looking for? And let's say like kind of like for like a beginner, in that sense that they should like be looking to partner up with. Because a lot of people are always so caught up about follower subscriber count, but what would you say is kind of like that sweet spot?
As a beginner, you're like, it's possible, but you're probably not going to sign a whale client. Like all these dudes with established offers and already have teams, and they have pages and pages of referrals that they can reach out to if they need someone. So you probably won't sign a whale, but as a beginner, I mean, you could try launching a brand new offer with a brand new creator, but I would look for people with 2 to 10K subscribers or followers, and then like already kind of what we did with Dre, like already doing some one-on-one consultation and coaching, and then create an offer around that. Damn, maybe you cut that out actually, but like we did with my first creator, that was like the absolute perfect creator for a beginner or for a first creator.
That's exactly what I recommend. That 2 to 10K range, you can be easily making anywhere from like 20 to 40K right off the bat. And that just gives you the momentum that you need. In terms of like niches that you would look for, actually, yeah, just niches are like, they all work at the end of the day.
I saw an offer that's ripping. It's like how to survive in prison.
Bro, wait, what? Wait, you're kidding.
I think they're doing multi 5 figures. Like they might even be at 6 per month, but dude teaches you how to survive in prison.
Who are they selling to?
People that are about to go to prison.
Bro.
How to literally survive.
Bro, yeah, I'm keeping that in. That's actually insane.
There's a million niches.
Yeah, I mean, you're working with the ADHD niche, and it's like, that's so niche, and you would think that no one would even want to. But if there's a pain, people will pay to fix that pain or that problem. So what would you say is the biggest myth about growth operating that you'd kill for people watching it?
Yeah, the biggest myth around growth op, around this business model is like, it's not beginner friendly. It's not super beginner friendly. Like there's so much that goes into it on the operations side, sales management, marketing, all of it. You're basically running these people's businesses for them. So like there's a lot of skills you need to learn, a lot of systems you need to have in place. But yeah, it's not super beginner friendly. That's why it's super important that you find people that you can watch and learn from that can help you actually get started.
Totally. What can a beginner really do to get into it? Because everyone is a beginner at some point. So what would you like recommend any beginners that wants to get into it, like what they should do?
If you want to get into it, I recommend you watch as much free value on it as you can first, just to make sure it's a business model that like works for you and that you would enjoy doing. Learn as much as you can, and then what are you doing in this business model? You're helping them essentially sell. You're helping your clients sell info because it works. So what I would recommend and what I did was find people that you can pay that will directly teach you how to do this business model. And whether it's this business model or any, like find people that will teach you how to do it and kind of jumpstart your timeline, get you further ahead than you would have done on your own.
Totally. 100%. I definitely agree with that. I've spent $40K on mentorships myself to kind of get to this point.
I think I'm at like 25 now. Every time you purchase info, at least for me and like the people I talk to, no one like in this space like gets over 50, 100K without buying info, even like before that. But every time you purchase info, in my experience, like you go to another level. So we spend 5K on a new mentor. He makes us 50 with his systems and his philosophy. Keep buying info until the day I retire. And then I might buy some more.
Yeah. How to retire. How to be happy while retired.
Golf mentorship or something.
Aside from buying info or getting a mentor or a coach, and aside from watching free YouTube videos, essentially without those two things, what is the first thing that you would do if you were starting again from zero tomorrow?
If I was starting from zero and I wanted to get back to where I was at, or even 10K per month with growth up, I would learn as much as I can about Claude Code and AI. I would do Dream 100 basically. So I would find 100, 200, 500 creators that I want to work with, and I would just create them free value, send it over, and basically say, hey, I built all this for you. Feel free to use it. If you want to talk about me implementing more or running some things for you, let's hop on a call. And I would send as many of those per day as I can until I got my first client. Even if you need to work for free, even if someone wants to bring you on as a copywriter, if a big creator brings you on as a copywriter for your first client and you have to work for free, absolutely take it. Just like being in the ecosystem and being inside the weeds of their offer and learning like how an offer is actually ran, more valuable than any retainer you can get as a beginner. So yeah, send as much free work as you can and try to sign as many clients as you can, either for cheap or for free.
I totally agree. I think that you hit on the two big things. It's like one, learn about the space and how it actually works, right? So there's so many ways to do that, whether it's like a free copywriting gig, make someone a thumbnail and be like, hey, can I script like one of your YouTube videos for free? Or just like get proximity, right? Or like be their setter, be their closer, like whatever it is to actually kind of like learn about the space. And then two is I think so many people waste so much time on things that like aren't making them money, right? And so they'll be so caught up about like learning how to like set up a CRM or how to like build a funnel or like what does like the perfect VSL look like, right? But none of that matters until you have a client. Like none of those skill sets are going to make you money until you actually have a client. So in that sense, it's like grind outreach, like do that Dream 100 and spend like 95, if not 99% of your time just like getting really good at actually talking to clients and getting clients. I see people making the mistake of just like trying to learn sales systems and stuff. And it's like, I'm still learning about sales systems. Like the journey of learning sales and marketing like never ends. And so you could just, if you never start and to actually learn acquisition, you're basically not ever going to get anywhere.
Yeah, the reason I was able to like start signing more clients after working with you is because I had that result with our first client. So anyone who doesn't have results right now, like for me, my biggest objection on these sales calls before I had results was like, who have you done this before with? So even if you have to do it for free or super cheap, just like being able to get your foot in the door and like add to your resume, add to your portfolio that like you've done this before, it makes acquiring clients in the future like way more easier.
Yeah, it's like the only way, really. So One thing I wanted to touch on that you really briefly touched on is AI. I know you're super dialed in on your AI systems. How much is AI helping you in your day-to-day, and how are you implementing it into your business?
So I paid some genius who runs like a $250K per month marketing agency, and he's super dialed in with AI. He's probably one of the best in the space. I paid him $5,000 for his AI systems, and then consulting on AI and consulting on business in general. But at this point, what I've learned from him and like all the systems I've gained from him, AI runs my entire business. Like, we joke about when Claude goes down for a couple hours, we're like, damn, do we got to go get jobs? Do we need to start applying? Because it truly runs every part of my business, or most of it. Like, it builds our landing pages, it builds all the assets, it tracks all the KPIs, it analyzes all of our sales data. It does so much for us.
Sick. Yeah, I'm so big on this. And you're actually
If
someone
you're
that
using AI at this point, I don't know. I feel like there's no one who isn't, but.
Well, I think it's just like taking a step beyond like prompting Claude or prompting ChatGPT and actually having it like truly have every single piece of context on you and your business and your clients, and actually having it like actually building you things, not just like responding to your questions is the biggest difference and mistake I see people make.
All you really need to do to get that set up, if you don't already, is like just find a folder, put all of your clients in there, put all of your info, all of your contacts, add a few skills, and then just do all of your client work out of that folder. Because it'll have all the context. Claude will read thousands and thousands of documents that are 1,000,000 lines long just to write the BSL, the perfect ad script, that kind of thing.
Sick. 3 final questions, and they'll be pretty quick. So, who is ScaleWise Partnerships genuinely for, and who is it not for?
ScaleWise, absolute goats, man. I would say it's for anyone who kind of has a little bit of an understanding of the marketing, of the info space, of the online business space. Maybe has some skills and just like a base understanding, but needs their hand held through maybe acquisition and then getting their foot in the door with other clients and maybe learning systems, and that wants to take this step from like pretty much beginner to like actually running your own agency.
Sick. And who would you say it's not for?
Yeah, anyone already running 50K per month plus agencies. Maybe you already have the systems and the skills to scale without it. But yeah, anyone under that, I'd say it would definitely help.
100%. Yeah, I definitely agree. That's really like our bread and butter, and like in terms of like who we're really able to help. What would you say to someone sitting exactly where you were 12 months ago before joining ScaleWise Partners, deciding whether or not to do this?
I'd say it's a no-brainer. I thought it was a no-brainer offer even before like working with you. I watched one video from you, had one sales call, and you signed me because it was such a no-brainer. It was exactly what I was looking for and what I needed in my business career. I needed my hand held through getting that first client and kind of using your results and your testimonials as leverage when signing a client. So yeah, it was exactly what I needed a year ago, and it was a no-brainer.
Sick, bro. Yeah, and was it worth it?
$1,000,000,000%. I think I've ROI'd from this investment specifically maybe 100 times.
Sick. Well, you're an absolute legend. We'll wrap it up. Ryan is the absolute GOAT. I'll put your Instagram in the description as well. You can always, I'm sure Ryan will be happy to chat with you guys if you have any questions for him. And we'll wrap it here. So, peace. All right, so that was Ryan. And I want to just quickly touch on some of the points that he made, because there was an extremely important one that you may have missed. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, every single time he invested his money into someone that is doing exactly what he wanted to do, he was able to rank up and take things to another level. He put in $5K and it got him back $50K in return. And he said he'll keep buying info until the day that he retires. Now, obviously, I have an interest in saying that, so take it with any grain of salt that you want. But what I think he's actually describing is figuring something out through your own trial and error over the course of 2 or 3 years, rather than just taking a plug and play system that gets you to where you want to be in half, if not a quarter of the time. Literally just compressing that timeline and plugging into a system that already works. 6 months of making nothing before he found us to onboarding with a creator partnership on his first day with us. And that's not a coincidence. That's what having the right infrastructure behind you does to your timeline. So if you're watching this and you're inside of that 6 months making nothing phase, and you feel like you're just piecing things together without a real system behind it, the link to apply to ScaleWise Partnerships is in the description. From there, we'll get on a call to see if it's the right fit, get you a creator, and then help you scale them from there. And if you're not ready for that quite yet, you can subscribe and watch all the other growth operating content that I have on this channel. Everything Ryan implemented for his clients, from the VSL funnels to the webinar funnels, how he's tracking all his KPIs, the outreach systems, and everything else. I hope you guys found this valuable, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.